Welcome back to the shop once again. This video is just an update on progress items to do with the universal tool grinder, where I've been, what I've accomplished here. So I'm also going to share some items that I've made to add more capabilities to the machine to be able to do certain things easier and quicker. But I want to share a couple items here first. I did show, I believe, yeah, I did, okay. I showed the hub adapter extraction tool that I made. I finally did pull the wheel off and did match the cone point that's on the machine's spindle, and still was very nervous about destroying the thread, so I added an extension here. I drilled it out and permanent Loctite, so now this bottoms out in the spindle and pulls it off real easy, so I don't have to worry about destroying the threads. That's the first item. Second item, I kept saying I don't know what the RPM is of wheels. From what I can tell, all of these different types of wheels here, the CBNs, the diamonds, and so on, all go well above 10,000 RPM. I did put the one that I bored out on the machine, ran it for about 10 minutes. It's fine. But again, in this video, you'll see a light that I've added to the machine because it gives me eye and face protection from stuff like that. Last I want to share is, I didn't know, but there is an Amazon.uk.it.de. They're all over the place. .us. I did find this wheel, 1 1/4 inch cup wheel for Carbide, on Amazon.uk, and it's cheaper. This wound up being $28 with shipping. You throw it, I love it. You have a cart here in England, it's a basket. You throw it in your basket, and it's all in pounds, but at the last second, you can click and convert it to US dollars, including shipping. It was $28. Arrived in about a week. It's a beautiful wheel, so I can add that to the collection. So I think that's everything I want to share right now. So here's a bunch of items that I came up with, made, like I said, to add further capabilities to the machine. Bring some stuff in here to talk about. That's a mess, but whatever. All right, fine. That doesn't belong here. What have I been able to do so far with this universal tool grinder? First thing I attempted was end mills, and I think I said center cutting is incredibly difficult, and to take off as little material as possible. This guy was really messed up. It's just a grizzly, 5/8, but center cutting, I gave up. This is the total mess. But this was the first one I was trying to do. Second one, I tried this guy, non-center cutting. No, this is center cutting also. So yeah, this is a little bit better, but still, and it works right now. It does. I haven't plunged with it, but it is cutting and does a pretty decent finish, just like the other grizzlies do. So that, it's just a matter of sticking it in a collet, and then you're completely guessing at the angles with a magnifying glass to get the angle this way. Some of them say they're completely flat, but I don't see that. So there's an angle this way on this guy, so the tips are pointing out, and then there's your back angle too on it. And I don't know why there's a secondary relief, but whatever it does. So this one came out, and then I tried a smaller one, which came out also pretty good. I completely lost a secondary relief on this one, but he also cuts now, and I can use these on whatever I want. This is the 13 millimeter one. So I did that. This, I didn't bring it over here. That other long thing is for doing the outside of it, and I'm looking at it thinking, you know, if you want to take a 1/2 inch end mill and make it smaller than a 1/2 inch, go ahead. So I'm not gonna. This is I think a 1/2 inch, and I got this from a garage, not a garage sale, estate sale or something, a machinist. This was taken down 50,000, so this isn't even close to being a 1/2 inch. Trying to read the numbers, what this is. I can barely, yeah, this is a 1/2. So the shank's a 1/2, this is 50,000th less. I had tried this guy and whoever did this, I wound up with a surface that did that, nice sea or surfboard or I don't know. So that's gonna go back into the junk drawer. Next thing I tried to do was this little guy, the broaching tool here for doing keyways for change gears on the mini lathe. And this was pretty easy and quick to do, and I haven't honed it or anything. It just, the finishes come out great with that grinding wheel, the aluminum oxide one, the cup wheel that came with the machine. So no plunging, it was just in, out, and this is easier because now you can just set the angle and you know where you are. So that came out good. Like I said, tried it, worked good. Next thing I did was this guy. I saw Stefan Gothwinter made a little dovetail cutter for doing test indicator holders. I had made one a different way on the mill, just plunging with an end mill, made a 4-flute one, which worked, but boy, crude. So this didn't take long at all, and yeah, I realized later that boy, you got to wait for it to cool off. Something this small, I mean, gets hot real quick. This was Harbor Freight, part of that set. It's a 1/4 inch piece. So I did try it, works beautifully, and eventually I'm probably just going to take a 1/4 inch drill bit and make another one, because this was part I was making something else and then just changed my mind, so that came up. Next thing I did is I talked about these guys and how this is oversized. You put this in the machine, this is not oversized anymore. This is exactly, I calipered the drill bit, which is undersized, and I made this match it. So hopefully you guys can see the finish on this. I mean, it doesn't even look like I played with it. It's just perfect. So, and I did try it, and it just worked great. So eventually here I will go through all the other ones. There were 6. I only did this one. I'll go through the other ones and make them match the drill bit as I need those guys to use. So that was successful. Next thing I did, this guy was, again, I think probably the same garage sale or estate sale. This was really bad shape. So I ran this guy through there. I haven't tried it yet. Did a little bit of touch up on the honing, and it should work fine. I haven't tried it because all of them, I have the entire Criterion set. They're all 1/2 inch. So you can just take the holder, put one in, it's on height. Next one, doesn't matter what size they are. They're all set for height. To put this in there, because it's ground down so much, I'd have to change the height. So that, I'm pretty sure was successful. The other one was the drill bits. Now, yeah, you can kind of see the mess this thing is. This is like, that's okay, but, you know, the whole back half of this thing is missing here. I've watched, I think, every video there is out there using the drill bit sharpener, and I see them doing everything completely different from video to video. One shows setting everything at 0 degrees and going at it, and just, it's let me tell you, a total nightmare. So I butchered up more junk, drill bits, unable to be able to drill anything. So I figured if I'm going to do it, let me fix this thing, because it's just nuts. This is after I did a bunch. First thing is this piece got to go. This was on here, up here at the top, so you can see the gap. But if you wanted to do this, by the way, it would be the biggest drill bit. I've got ones bigger diameter, but the lengths are all the same. So if I'm going to go through the painful process of 10, 15 minutes, maybe more, trying to set the machine up to sharpen a bit, it would be the bigger bits. I'm not going to play with some teeny stuff, I don't think. So being the biggest bit I had, this won't work, because this is going to sit on top of it at an angle when you clamp it, and now you can't get this out and put it back in. So I just figured, you know, take this to the hacksaw, get rid of this piece, gone. So now, and I just cleaned this up on the regular grinder, wheel grinder, but you can hear it hits nicely now. It stays put. Now I got to back this out. So I'm thrilled with that. Next thing, this was, well, I mean, a mile long. Here's the rest of it. This kept hitting my machine, getting in the way. It's chipping up the paint. I don't need it that long. I've seen also some of the videos where they're swinging this full, and then I've seen videos where they're just eat, a little bit at a time. So crazy stuff. Put this in the Wen bandsaw, take it right off. The interesting part was to clean this up. This was actually done on the tool grinder, and this finish feels like glass. It's incredible, so loving that. Okay, now I got it to a reasonable length. You can see I already ground into this thing. I've seen videos where they're only holding the drill bit with this thing clamping it. This doesn't exist. I've seen them with this little lever thing on the front. I've seen them sharpening bits where there's just a hole there like this because they took it off. I mean, it's all over the place. But the other thing was, this giant thing to me is ridiculous. So you can see I made my own here. A lot smaller, holds the drill bit, doesn't have to be poking out like that. So this went away. Probably need to put a smaller set screw in here so it goes down flush. I'm also just thinking about cutting this off, getting rid of this, so I can see what I'm doing. But I mean, I don't know what to say. This has been one incredible thing. The other thing is, when you have this, if you had it in the right position, the amount you swipe is this surface. So when I see somebody in a video doing the full run, which is this guy from end to end, no, because that's what completely removes this back heel. And I saw one where he was just barely moving it. So yeah, if you're gonna do this surface, this is less surface than this. So this guy is by definition gonna go less than this guy. So I'm still trying to figure this thing out and what to do, but at least I have it kind of down to size. The key that I found is, I'll probably show it here a little bit, is actually setting it up so that the dial here for rotation stops it from going down too far. You have to do some funky tricks to get it in the right position, and then tighten the 5C collet up. So now it can only go so far, but I'll show that. So these are just some of the mods that I did so far, and then I'll go back at this thing again. Well, I've got the new universal tool grinder here. So I've done some things already, and I'll show that in other videos. Is this loose? Oh yeah, big time. All right, well, leave that way loose so I know I gotta set that height. But I know sooner or later I'm gonna have to sharpen boring bars here. I've got the whole Criterion set and I love them. They are fantastic. But from time to time, something just doesn't cut right. But in any case, I know I'm going to sharpen them. So I figured I could put them in. I did mess with one. I don't have it here, but one somebody hand ground on a grinder and it was a total wreck. So I did fix that one. I haven't tried it yet. But I could put, well, that one I put in a collet, and you're trying to guess as to the angle and getting relief and so on. So I figured, all right, I've got this guy, and let me just make a quick little holder for these things. And it just slides right in there. Get this guy out of the way. So he just goes in there nicely. It's like a perfect fit. And you just put the thing in there. You know, I've got the two flat spots, so I've got it this way, so I can put it in there, and and it's a beautiful fit too. So I figured I'm gonna put it in. Yeah, I got it that way. Is this right? No, it's not. This goes up. Okay, so I've got it backwards. That one. Yeah, that's the flat spot, and that's the other spot. So it goes in there. So now I'm holding it vertical with respect to those edges, and I can easily angle this, and then I can tilt so I can get exact relief or whatever I'm looking for here. But the curious thing is, and I would have never known this had I not have made this block, I went over to the granite plate and I'm putting a square here trying to see what the relief angle is, and on a majority of these there isn't any. And these flats, some, I forgot, this one, no, one of these, I actually had negative on it. So really interesting to know. So next time I run into a problem here or something with one of these guys and it's just not cutting right, then I'll put it on this and on the surface, see what it's doing. Is there relief? And I can easily go in there and just touch it up on the tool grinder and fix it. Because they all look like, just for some reason, an optical illusion that they have relief to them. And I'm surprised there isn't any. So this was just a quick little guy, bang it out. Kind of fun to make. So yeah, I'm sure I'm going to be making a bunch of little gadgets here or there, preparing for future things that I want to do or sharpen. Next project that was up here is, I've used this guy a few times for different things, but I showed this is giant. Sucker is heavy too. Get this out of the way a little bit. So I've used it, but now what I want to do, I've got, this is 5/16, right? Yeah, 5/16 and 3/8, and I want to be able to make some of my own cutters here. So this was the next guy up. Dovetail, piece of cake, fits in there perfectly. Use the gauge pins with a caliper here to get everything right. So at first I was going to just make the 3 grooves here for 5/16, but then I figured, all right, let me just start with it this way. I should have brought the wheel over here so you could see, but if the grinding wheel is here, I can put this in here and I can easily, you know, angle, do whatever I want. If I got to go this way, I have plenty of room to move in on the wheel. So that's why I just made the 1 groove, and I was going to make a top for it, but then I figured, you know, why? So I don't have the set screws in here yet. I got to go pick them up. That was 4mm. So I think I've got it set and do whatever I want here, and I usually do 5/16 because you can grind it faster. there's a lot less material that you have to remove over a 3/8, which is a lot of stuff. But then I had also made this groove for the 3/8 because they're a lot longer, and I can easily, put it wherever I want. I haven't drilled any holes here yet because I don't think I'm going to do this quite yet, but I can always put set screws in there, or I can finally make a top that clamps it down. But the other thing is that diamond dresser is a weird, I think it's 10 millimeters, and it's very difficult to find another good quality large diamond dresser. So I'm figuring at some point I can always bore holes in here and more set screws, and I can use this to hold the diamond dresser, whatever size I get or whatever. So I'm kind of happy with this guy. This was my first thing. I wanted to be able to make some kind of cutters or whatever, clean up some of the cutters that I already have that I did by hand. So I can do that, I can do this. I've got room for a diamond dresser in the future when I need it. So I think this project came out pretty good. It's not as low a profile here as this gap as this guy, but I put it on the machine, and this puts me pretty much so dead center on the grinding wheel, which I really like. So, all right, this goes in the drawer. This project's completed. I don't think I need this guy, but I can always make it in the future and drill this end out. But like I said, I want this open for a diamond dresser. Well, the next project, I was searching for some grinding wheels for the machine, different types, and accidentally stumbled across this light on Amazon. I'll put a link to it in the description, but I took a chance. $75, all LEDs, incredible light. I mean, you turn it on and it lights stuff up. So hood stays open, spring loaded. You can dim it, you can go down, you can go all the way up, and it is bright white. 5 diopter. And I mean, this is perfect. It puts light exactly where I want. I can angle it any which way I want. And I can see, plus the best thing I like is eye protection. Actually, face protection. Because everything I'm doing, I'm in here inches from the wheel with a magnifying glass trying to see what's going on. So right now, this guy, I mean, this arm too goes everywhere. It's ridiculous, the movement. Right now, it's got one of those clamps that go on the edge of a desk. So what I want to do is make just, a round mount, 3 holes to just screw it down to the top of the bench, and then just stick the post or whatever you want to call it in the hole. So I'll be done. I was actually so thrilled with this, I bought 2 of them, and I may buy a 3rd one because I'm picturing this can go in between the 2 lathes over there, and I can swing it to one lathe or the other lathe if I mount it in the center. Gets rid of the lights on both lathes, gets rid of those magnifying glasses that I swing out on a flex arm, gooseneck. Gets rid of that, and the 3rd one I may just put on my main bench where that gray carpeting is. Because when you go to solder or you're doing something, this thing is just gorgeous. I highly, highly recommend this, guys. Well, there it is. One custom little mount that should fit it perfectly. I just want to put a nylon sleeve in there to keep from messing up the light. So I just have to bore this out now, push it in there, and then face it off so it's all nice and clean. But so I mean, the work, this thing to me, it came out looking like it belongs on some kind of a spacecraft or something. The holes are just gorgeous on it. That only took about an hour. That's a 2-inch piece of aluminum, 1 piece turned down. Makes a lot of chips, let me tell you. And I know there's probably easier ways to do it where I could have just taken a smaller piece and pushed it into a bottom piece. But That probably should be a little bit thinner, so I may actually turn that down when I've got it back in the lathe. Okay, progress being made on the machine so far, or lack thereof. The adapter, still fighting with that. Shars is the only one that sells this adapter. There is no one that sells the 20 millimeter one. There's tons of lack of information out there. I did find on eBay another company. I think they were called Discount Machine Tools or something. Evidently, they're a subsidiary of Shars. But you can buy it from Shars, or I bought it from them. This is the one. And it's almost $10 cheaper, so I bought it. But the problem is the pictures all show the adapter not anodized, raw material, and the one on my machine is not anodized. And I contacted him, and he said, yes, the manufacturer changed their design, so all of his inventory is anodized. All of Shars' inventory, he said, was anodized also. Problem with anodizing is it adds a couple of thousandths to the thickness of it. So, not sure what to do yet. I don't want to mess with this thing. But I don't know if you guys can see the finish on this thing, so I don't like that at all. You know, this is turned and that's polished. I mean, come on. So I'm probably going to return this and ask him, do you have one with a nut that isn't messed up? In the meantime, trying to figure out dimensions, thinking about making a 20 millimeter one for all the other common wheels rather than the 1 1/4 inch. And as usual, well, on Shars, they have the diagram of it. And they state that the taper is 1 to 5, so no big deal. But as usual, every dimension on the print is wrong. So I had to make my own print with all the correct dimensions. And what gets me is, if you do the math, the taper is supposed to be 84.29 degrees. I machined through trial and error and machined and turned and came up with 84.1 degrees, almost 2 degrees difference. And it fits and it locks and it doesn't move. So I'm not about to touch my machine right now because of the angle is set. So I'm thinking, well, I'll be the only one on the planet with an adapter that fits this machine and a 20 millimeter wheel. Problem is, I want to machine it in one piece. So if the chuck's here, I'd have to chuck the material this way, piece of 2 inch, face it, turn it, drill it, then bore it to the angle, and then the pain would be doing all of this stuff. And eBay does have these threading die for $10. So I'm still daydreaming how to do that. Oops, turn that around. So that's just an update on that. My 3/4 is not a 3/4, so I gotta figure out what to do with that. But in any case, I did put this guy, I bought this guy a long time ago. It's a really teeny internal grooving tool. Was using it on aluminum, broke the tip right off. Don't understand why. But I put this in a collet, put it on the machine, and I was able to recover it. Tried this out, works beautifully. So I'm thinking I want to be able to make a lot of high-speed steel grooving tools. So I made this little guy. He's offset, goes in a 3/4 collet. I still need to buy the correct set screws so they're below the surface so I can put it all the way in. But being offset, I can just spin it 360 and I'll get this untouched surface and cut in surface. So that's kind of where I am. Another tool to be added to the drawer, and I was looking at high-speed steel material, whatever you want to call it, really expensive. So I think I'm going to use tool steel and start making some of these out of that. It's hard enough, and looking at the difference between tool steel and high-speed steel is just temperature. And if I take tool steel above 400 degrees Fahrenheit, it'll lose its hardness. I don't do anything to temperatures like that. That's like, you know, you have red hot, you have brown. If it turns brown, that's basically 400. So success with this, and another tool that it will be added to the drawer and capabilities. And like I said, I'm still trying to figure out what to do with this. It's amazing, you know, you look at Decal, you look at, there's a lot of companies that make this universal tool grinder. You can't get that part. I mean, Shars is it on this planet, and you're stuck with the 1 1/4 inch. And I've still continue to search for 1 1/4 inch wheels, and it's not out there. If anybody can tell me where they're getting this or the wheels, please leave a comment. Thank you.